he introduced me to our wonderful speaker, Christine Mariani, who is the Director of Operations. And she took this on of goodness of her heart to help us all with Zoom, and just in going through it, it's been a good education for me and I for our office. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Christine.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I know that everyone's very busy, and this is a quite a unique time for everybody. My ultimate heart and hope for today is that the nuggets that I've learned, the nuggets that I've helped teach our employees at LevLane and others in the digital space, but specifically today for Zoom, can help you guys pivot in how you're either doing your business now or communicating with your family and friends, or just to feel more comfortable in the digital arena. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today might be new to you, and that's totally fine. I applaud you all for carving the time out, and two, for being open to either learning a new tool, or for trying something new, or for learning something new, because I know that sometimes that step, or that leap in wrapping your arms around something new could be a challenge, and sometimes that challenge or change can be challenging or difficult. So I just wanted to take a quick minute to not only thank you for your time, but applaud you all for taking that step, because you know our times have kind of forced us in one hand to learn and adapt. But my ultimate mission for today is that for you guys to have a little bit more confidence and to be a little bit more comfortable with Zoom in particular. Okay, so thank you again. Ben and Megan's behind the scenes helping us as well, for CCP for putting this on, for David Lane for introducing us all, and I'm excited to communicate via chat with you guys during this session. And then if you have any other questions, our contact information will be at the back end of this deck, which will be shared to you also. Okay. So super quick background on me. I've been in marketing and advertising for over 25 years. I've recently joined the LevLane family. I have the honor of working with David Lane and our incredible staff. And up until probably right at the start of this year, we were primarily about 80% in our office in the beautiful Wanamaker building in Center City. And although we had the capability of working remotely in some one-off situations, we were really a business that was inside our physical four walls. Very quickly, we've adopted some new best practices, some of which I'm going to share with you today, and have rolled out and trained almost 80 employees to be able to function and work from home, which I'm very happy to say we've all been doing very well. So hopefully some of these nuggets help you guys today, and we're just going to dive on in. I am going to ask in the bottom section of your bar at the bottom of Zoom that we're all in right now, there is a chat button. If you haven't found that yet, please select that. A chat bar is going to pop up, and whether Megan's actually putting questions in, or Ben or myself are asking questions, we would love for you guys to engage during this conversation, so we can get your pulse, get your feeling, and help drive this to be the best experience for you guys. Okay. So if you haven't already put your contact information in, I invite you to please do that. That's going to help us get this deck to you after we're all done. It's going to help and get you some other fabulous event information in the future. And if any questions are left unanswered today for any reason, we'll make sure that that's going on into a recap as well to everyone. Okay. Awesome. So I want to quickly go through a high-level overview of what we're going to be covering today in this beginner's Zoom session. Thank you for the welcome again. We're going to be talking through some digital best practices. We're going to be talking about what is the Zoom that everyone keeps talking about, right? If you're not familiar with that, or if you haven't used it yet, we're going to touch on that. I'm going to give you some handy ideas on when Zoom could come in handy for you, whether it's from a business perspective or even from a personal perspective. We're going to go through some audio echo, how to avoid having that, or how to troubleshoot that if that does happen, because that is a very common thing. We're going to go through some roles and what some of the language means in Zoom world. We're going to talk through the Zoom plans that is offered in the event that you want to sign up for Zoom and you have not yet, or just so you're aware. And we're going to be talking through what the difference between having a meeting versus what Zoom calls an actual webinar. We're going to talk through some hosting tips if you choose to have an event, whether it's a workshop, a seminar, a meeting with your team, what some of those tips are, how to engage with your group, whether that is a webinar, a meeting, or even just a dialogue, kind of like we're having right now. And then a whole other bunch of basics, how to sign in, how to join a meeting, how to schedule a meeting. We'll talk and touch on security, which is always important from both a business and a professional or a personal level. As Ben mentioned, we are recording right now, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that in the future if that's of any interest. We've just touched on the chat, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. Zoom has a fun feature called reactions. And reactions is sort of like an emoji of sorts. So we're going to put you into that direction and try to have some fun today with that feature too. Right now, we're actually sharing my screen for this presentation, and I'm going to show you guys and talk through how you guys could do that too. And then I'm going to actually show you the proper way to end a meeting. I know that kind of might sound a little bit funny. But if you can learn from my mistakes, which I have made plenty of, and probably will continue. But anyway, I've ended a meeting I had a little trigger finger. So I'm going to show you guys how that not to happen to you guys, okay? I'm going to end our session in time today with enough time for you guys to be asking your questions, specific. Encourage you guys to continue to add them into the chat section, and we're going to go through them at the end of our time together today. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So I want to talk through some best practices, some things that I've learned, some things that we've instituted at LevLane, some things that we're even doing for myself. I've been in the marketing and advertising field now for, like I said, many years. And I am a project manager by heart. So you might pick up some of my very organized tendencies are going to come out in some of these points. So just so you guys are aware that that's where this is kind of coming from. But I just want to give everybody a friendly reminder, whether it is for business or whether it is for personal needs, that you're coming to a virtual meeting, a digital meeting, or a digital gathering, like you were heading into an actual event, whether that event was a conference room meeting or whether that was a session that you would have gone to at a social function. Being on time is obviously important, and being prepared. I strongly suggest that in the digital arena that you are actually showing up a little bit early in the event that you do hit a technological hiccup. They do happen. I'm going to do my best today to help navigate you guys to narrow that potential. But I'm a big fan of being prepared and planning. And if you have, whether it's Zoom or if it's another app, I suggest that when you do get invited to anything, that you're downloading appropriately and doing a test prior to it being showtime. That way, when you are actually joining a session, that you're prepared, and that if any hiccup was going to happen from a technological perspective, you've already tested your camera and your audio and, you know, any of those other little things that we're going to touch on. So just being prepared. Want to point out that the mute button should be your new best friend, which is so hard for me to say, especially being a chatty patty, I've been called. So the reason that this is so important in the digital arena, as much as I can see you guys in the gallery view of our screens, I can't see everybody right now. And it's very hard when you're not around a table or in a room with somebody to not be making eye contact with them. So by the host putting everybody on mute, please don't take that personally. But the intent there is not to have 20, 50, 100 people talking over one another and really not accomplishing what was needed to be accomplished. So the goal to engage your electronic digital voices in that chat section. So just wanted to kind of point that out as a best practice and why that's happening. But a little tip for mute, if you're not muted during a smaller meeting in particular, you can click on your space bar, click and hold your space bar, and that's actually going to mute you temporarily for as long as you have it muted. Okay, so if you happen to be engaging in conversation and you hear a siren going by outside and you want to hit that, that's a quick way. And another way, there's other ways too, which we'll go through in a little bit. Okay. Okay. Active participation, as much as your voices are all, I'm like screaming to hear all of your voices right now. But if you could take that energy and take that power of your voice and put it into the chat, it's going to be super helpful. And I know I've said that a couple of times. I normally don't like kind of drill that in, but your active participation not only is going to help us, but it's also going to help other folks in this meeting and for you guys as well. So, okay. Ben, thank you for pointing out. You do have the option to change your name on your audio, or your video rather, excuse me. If you take your mouse and you hover over top of your video head where it says mute, and then there's 3 little buttons. If everybody would click on those 3 little buttons, you have a drop down and an option where you can rename yourself. So if you logged in as iPhone 5, or if you logged in under somebody else's name, like if you share an account with somebody, I invite you now to actually change that, because not only will it help us place a name with a face, it's also going to help when you guys are chatting in the chat section, that we'll be able to know that, you know, Betty said XYZ, not iPhone 5 said XYZ. Okay. All right, so what is the Zoom thing that I keep hearing about? So if you have not heard about Zoom, Zoom is a very flexible and easy tool for virtual meetings or remote collaboration. Okay, it's easy to adopt. It's got quick capabilities. You can start and collaborate across all of your devices, which is really fabulous. So if you have a computer versus you have your cell phone versus a tablet, you can use Zoom on everything. It does have audio, as you can hear, video, as you can see, capabilities, screen sharing, which is what we're doing right now. And it really has an engaging level between the chat and being able to be presenting along the way. Okay, so that was just a lot of information in a very short, concentrated couple of minutes. Hi.
A couple of people missed the 3 dots and the name change.
Okay. So if you did miss that, in your little picture icon, or where your screen is, if you chose not to have your picture coming up or your video coming up, there's a little mute and unmute little blue bar that comes up in the upper right hand corner of that box. Next to the mute button, there's a little other blue box that has 3 little white dots in it. You would need to click on those 3 white dots, and then there's a
Oh,
drop down that happens, and you have the option to click rename, and from there you will put in Betty or Bob or whatever you want, you know, to put in there.
some people may be on speaker view, in which
Mm.
case you only see Christine.
Oh,
So at the top right of your screen, you can change, I should have said this before, you can
sorry.
change your view to gallery view or speaker view. And the difference there is that you're seeing the slideshow and Christine, or you can see everybody. So in order to see everybody, you need to be on gallery view. And then you can find your video and hover over it to see the mute and unmute.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wait, you're muted, Christine. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. Okay, so drop me in the comments if you haven't already, please. Where is everybody calling and dialing in from? Are you in Jersey? Are you in Delaware? Are you calling from somewhere far away? Are you in a Philly suburb? Are you in Center City? I'd love to get to know you guys a little bit more too, and see where you guys are all coming in from. Okay, so while you guys are doing that, I wanted to throw out there a few ways that Zoom could be very handy for you guys. You can schedule, host, or join a meeting, kind of like this, or even smaller or bigger. You could attend or host a digital seminar or workshop. You could participate in a networking event, much like I know Ben is very excited and hoping that you guys can all join his upcoming CCPA events. If you choose to nourish your mind with an online continued education course, you could definitely do that through Zoom. I've been brainstorming ideas with my creative teams and my account teams, with our clients, with our third-party vendors. LevLane, we have 80 employees across our tri-state area, clients across the country, and you know, having Zoom as a tool has been very powerful, and it's been business as usual, the best that we're trying to make it, to continue to be able to flourish. We are connecting and catching up with our families and our friends all over the country and world. Last weekend, I had the great opportunity of having a video chat with family of mine in Italy that I had not ever seen or have been able to interact previously. So if that's the silver lining of this crazy new world, then I invite you guys to use a tool like this, if not Zoom, for staying connected when we are feeling a little isolated from going out. One could join an exercise class or a yoga class or a meditation class, any kind of a social activity that was happening in person before might be happening now in Zoom. So not only, as much as we want to really today talk through how to use Zoom, I really wanted to drive this home, because as powerful of a tool as this is for not only business reasons, it really is something special for your personal engagement as well. So cool. All right, so we're going to go through some essentials and basics. Again, just to reiterate, this deck is going to be coming to everybody in its full PDF form for ongoing reference. A lot of this today I'm just quickly glazing over. So know that you will have this as kind of a go-to for future reference. Some of the URLs are in here are, again, for your future needs. So from an essential perspective, I'm giving you guys the Zoom information. I'm suggesting that you prompt and download the URL if you haven't already on your devices. There is an audio only option in Zoom. So if you choose not to be video facing, or you choose to only be using your cell phone, there is actually a phone number that you can dial into, which is a nice option to know. I love Zoom because, well, a lot of reasons, but I love Zoom mainly because it's both PC and Mac friendly. So no matter what platform you're on, it's very user friendly. The other thing that I would just put out there from a business perspective, just check with your IT and operations people to see if you already do have a Zoom account, and how you can tap into that if you're not aware. Okay, so moving on to some audio echo troubleshooting. So if you haven't heard this before, you know, I think everybody's heard this at some point, right? It's either static, it's either a little bit of like reverb, it's, you know, some kind of audio problems. And there's usually three main reasons why that happens. So I'm just going to quickly point them out to you. If you as a participant has both your computer on and you're dialed in from a telephone, whether it's your cell phone or whether it's a landline at the same time, that audio sometimes fights with one another, and that could be a reason why you're getting an echo, okay? The second reason could be that if you have a computer or a telephone and your speakers might be physically too close to one another, which is another very popular one. And the third one, which was very popular when we were all in the office, or had multiple people physically dialed into this session or a session, that if you're around the table together and somebody right next to you or across from you is also tapped into the same conference call, those computers and that audio, both from either computers or phones, could fight with one another. So that's why you might get like an echo or a reverb or a screechy kind of sound or something awful. So the ultimate nugget here is that if you are on multiple devices or have multiple people, try to have one person be that like lead sound person of the group. So if my husband and I are sitting across our dining room table working and we're on the same thing, let's just say, or he is on this call as well, as an example, which he's not, but if, or maybe he is, I don't know. I would suggest that one of you turn the sound down all the way, so only sound is coming through one, or that you both are using headphones versus the audio of your computers. So you guys can come back to this slide at another time to help troubleshoot a couple other points, but that's the basics. But the good nugget here is to know that there are some quick solutions. And I think we all kind of learn in that moment of the, oh my God, why is this happening? And how do we make it stop? But know that everyone's going through that at the same time. All right, we're going to just quickly talk through some roles. When we're having a meeting in Zoom, you're going to hear the language, someone's a host, a co-host, or an alternative host. And this is just going to give you a gauge on what that all means. Ben today is our rock star host, and thank you again for putting this together for everybody. Megan and I have been named co-hosts, so we can be sharing our screens with one another. We can be helping with the chat. We have some other options in assisting the host. All right, and then we're not going to talk too much about webinars today. This is an added upgraded feature. The language changes slightly, but you'll have this for reference. But in addition to a host and co-host, there's somebody called an attendee and a panelist. But just know that if you are going to ever join an actual webinar, you have this tool to refer back to. Okay. All right. So show of hands in the chat if you don't mind. Who already has a Zoom membership, an account that you're aware of? Nice. Okay, so there's a handful of different types of accounts if you're not aware. Okay, there's a free version, which is really awesome that Zoom offers this. It's free. There's no hook. It's free forever, or forever as of right now. But the one nugget that I do want to just point out with this great option is that there are some very, very specific limitations to it. The main one being that you can have unlimited one-on-one conversations. And the big nugget here is that anything over 40 minutes is not a possibility. So if you're going to be having, let's just say, a family celebration to sing happy birthday to somebody, and it's going to be a couple of minutes, that type of short, quick thing, that's great. But for business purposes, if there's the chance of it going longer than 40 minutes, most people upgrade to the pro or the business account, mainly because of how many people can participate and the length of time of that account. So I feel like a salesperson for for Zoom. I'm definitely not, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of the main nugget difference between the free version and the other versions, and you'll have this for reference as well as being able to go to the website. I included this here just more as a top line information on that there are webinar and some other options available as upgrades. I personally don't use any of these except for maybe a webinar once in a blue moon for a really big conference of like 1,000 people or something, but mostly all of you right now won't be needing to touch any of this, but just know that there's options out there, okay? And this is the main difference between webinars and meetings. Right now, this is a meeting, or what's being set up as a meeting. It's really a workshop, right? But to use a webinar, if you think of it as like you were going to a big conference and or a big auditorium and somebody was presenting something to you, there's less of that one-on-one interaction happening. The person joining an actual webinar does not have the option to speak. They're muted automatically, which is one of the other main points. So again, if you're tapping into an online education program or there's ways to that could be a benefit, I just wanted to point out, and you'll have this for future information too. Okay. And that webinar is an upgraded version. It costs more money. It's about $50 or something a month. And just know that that's a possibility. All right, let's talk tips. Who doesn't love a good tip or two, right? So right now, I'm a big fan of, if you have the option and you're a computer person, whether it's for business or for pleasure, and you have a hard wire that you can plug yourself in, that's where you're going to get your best connection versus wireless. So I just put that out if you're hosting something in particular, or you're driving the train for a big meeting, that if you have that as an option, you might want to just think about making that a best practice. Testing your audio, testing your video, testing everything. I might sound a little repetitive, but again, come to the table, whether it's a fun party table or a business meeting, prepared, plan ahead of time, set proper expectations for whatever that gathering is going to be. You know, today this was a beginning session, a beginner session. We're going to take you guys through those high level and give you tips to feel comfortable and confident. But if somebody already was, you know, using this on a regular basis, you know, to have not known this was a beginner course might have been something a little disappointing. So I think just the level set expectations is always important. All right, so engaging in your audience, engaging in you guys right now, like as much as I feel like I'm kind of having a one-way conversation from a verbal perspective, which is so not the way I like to interact, the way that I know Ben likes to do business, the way that I know David Lane likes to do business. But again, focusing on the chat section, you know, I'm seeing you guys comment, so thank you. It's really helpful. Thank you for, you know, sharing and giving us this information. Hopefully you're adding some questions in there too. We're feeling comfortable to do that. But that engagement, this level of the digital world is something that we're all learning to make best practice, that we're all doing to be a little more comfortable. So I just put that out there. There's lots of little tips there as well to hopefully have you guys feel more comfortable in ultimately either having your own meetings or joining other meetings. All right, so you guys all know how to sign into Zoom. You got here okay, congratulations. And that was all because you clicked on an actual link. But if you were actually going to be signing in to sign up for setting up a session, this slide is going to take you through zoom.us. It's going to show you how to sign into an existing account. If you don't have an account, you can actually sign up through here as well. Okay. Oh, meetings, right? I think we all sit in too many meetings sometimes, but as long as they're productive. But to set up a meeting or to join a meeting are a couple of quick things that I do want to touch on in Zoom. Very powerful, very simple, very easy. Once you do it a couple of times. And that's the other thing today. I want to really invite everybody to, whether it is for business reasons or for personal reasons, to not be afraid, to roll up your sleeves, dive on in, especially if you're doing it ahead of time as a test, practice. So many people are learning right now. We're all kind of learning together at different levels. And I just really invite you guys to continue to learn and help each other, right? I mean, it's part of a fabulous community to continue to learn and grow. So to join a meeting, you can join it by, like you guys got here today, you can click on the email invitation, which as you can see on my screen, it shows that this was the invite that Ben had sent out. So we clicked on that little blue URL. And it took us right to Zoom, and then we added in our password, our meeting ID, and it launched, and here we all are, right? Hi, Barbara.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I did not have to put in a meeting ID or a password, and I don't know about others either, but isn't there something about it's like embedded in the invitation?
It is, Barbara, and that's a great question. Thank you. So in our preference section of Zoom, as the person who's setting up the meeting, as the host, there's a bunch of options that one can select. And there are things that you can check off to either have to include a meeting invite or not have to include a meeting invite, and some other details that we're going to talk about in a second. So Ben must not have had checked off that box, so it wasn't mandatory. So, but in some cases, people do choose for it to be mandatory. So I would suggest to always just have that information handy as you are logging in the event that you do need it. And the main reason that people are moving closer to wanting to use it is it's another layer of security as well. Just as
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so in addition to being able to click on a meeting invite to join a meeting, one could choose to actually log into their account if they had one and go to the meeting area. And then like you can see here, I have my next meeting that I had scheduled is there. So, oh, not there, here. So if you do log into your account, if you have one, you can go to your meeting area, select the thing here, and then, or if there's a list of them, find the one that you want. And then you would literally just be able to start your meeting or join the meeting right from here. Okay. Now, if I wanted to schedule a new meeting, I would log into my account, same area that I just showed you, and you would start to follow the prompts to be able to schedule a meeting. Now, Barbara and everybody, here's that form that I started to mention. If I want to schedule a new meeting, I'm going to fill out all of the stuff the best that I can, okay? After you do it once or twice, it does happen pretty quickly, but the big nugget here is to make sure that you're filling in the topic, what your meeting name is being called, when you want to have that scheduled for, how long you want to have that scheduled for, making sure that you have the right time zone selected. There is that registration button, so if you do want to have that, you can select that. Your meeting ID, you can either generate an automated number or your personal ongoing message, or not message, sorry, personal number. My personal tip is not to use that personal meeting number. Again, from another level of security. If I have back-to-back meetings that are happening throughout the course of my business day and I'm using that same meeting number over and over and over again, if somebody is tapping in from, let's just say, my 1 o'clock call and my 12 o'clock calls running over a little bit, It's like we're all now in one big virtual room together. So to avoid any of that crossover potential, and also just as another level of security, I would strongly suggest, even for personal reasons, selecting that generate automatically, okay? So that meeting ID is going to be personal for every meeting that you're setting up, okay? And then you have a whole host of other options that you can choose here if you want a password, if you don't want a password. Any very sensitive meeting that we're scheduling right now for LevLane, anything that's doing with finance, with operations, with any of our staffing, any HR issues, anything that wants a heightened level of security, you have the option to add a password in here, okay? The next two nuggets here are super powerful and important, and as the host, it's my responsibility or your responsibility to make sure that you're checking this off as accurately as possible. And that is, do you want the video to start up automatically for the host, for myself, and for the participants? And you can either have it be on or you can have it be off in any combination. And then the audio option, if you want to have it just to be a landline call, if you want it to be a landline call and a computer call, or just a computer, this is the area where your audio is going to be set up properly, okay? All right. So once you have that all done and said, you would actually be saving that. And then you have two options. You can either copy and paste the information that's going to pop up with all of your URL and information into an email, or you can actually click on, if you use your Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or the Yahoo calendar, you can click on one of these and then it's going to pull that URL and dial-in information into the calendar invite automatically that you would manage massage to be able to send out for either your business purposes or your personal purposes. Okay. Security. I can't speak enough about security, both from in the virtual world, you know, we're all vulnerable. There's bad people out there, I'm not gonna lie. We do our best to be as protected as possible. And I think, as I'm sure a lot of you have heard, Zoom, much like a lot of other people, have had some issues. A very recent time, they have pumped that up. So this is actually showing you one of their new features. Sorry about my mug here. That's my screenshot. But if you see the little shield in the bottom part of your monitors, it actually says security on it. And if you click on that, you have some options. In addition to being able to share your screen and share your chat and renaming yourself, you have the option to enable a waiting room. And that's a little deeper of a dive, but the option of locking a meeting is something from a security perspective that they did not offer before. So by literally locking a meeting, if Ben would have clicked on that as the host right now, nobody else could come in. And it kind of just holds things like in place. So add on the Zoom website in the upper right-hand corner, there's also a security tab that has all kinds of more information than any probably normal person wants to ever know. But if you have any concerns from your business perspective or personal perspective, just know that you can go to that area to learn all kinds of things. And then they're pushing updates all the time too. So I also will say that LevLane has an intense IT security team that helps us, which we're very fortunate for. They're awesome. And Zoom is on our list of preferred tools. So I just will let you guys all know that. Okay, so much like Ben had said in the early part of this chat and conversation, he was recording the session. We're gonna be able to share this with everybody for continued learning and reference. He's gonna be able to potentially use it for marketing purposes or his website. But just know that if you are recording something, we should be announcing that we are recording your meeting or your fun. And it is very powerful. and a nice option to have. Okay. Our chats, I see everybody's chatting. Thank you. Love it. It really is a powerful tool. If you haven't noticed, there's the to everyone at the bottom. So that's just to point that out, that you're communicating and chatting with this entire group. Okay. If you wanted to send Ben just a private one-on-one message, you would click on that everyone little blue bar, and then literally be able to select an individual's name to send just Ben a message about the event next week that he's having, or anything about that, right? Okay. Reactions. Who here does not like a good emoji? Drop me in the comment thing. Thank you. Drop me in the comments what your favorite emoji is on your phone. And let me know what the last emoji was that you sent somebody. Here in Zoom, this is a new feature that they're just piloting of recent time. It's called reactions rather than emojis. You can find that in the lower center bar, or at the bar at the bottom, mid to right. As you can see, it's a little smiley face. You can click on it. It's like a clap or a thumbs up. So I invite you guys all right now to give me a thumbs up if you're learning anything today and finding this valuable. Okay. All right, let's talk about sharing our screens. Okay, so whether this is going to be for a business meeting, a workshop, an event, a training tool, or like last weekend, I was sharing my screen of some other pictures with my family in Italy for just a family group chat that we were having. So to be able to share your screen for any reason, whether it's a document, a photo, or whatever, is something fun that I thought that I would, and powerful from a business perspective to be able to show you guys. So to be able to share your screen, you in the very bottom of your Zoom window are going to see a little rectangle that's going to be green with an arrow in it, and it literally says share underneath of it. Okay, you're going to click your share button, and then it's going to have, and you'll see here on my little virtual sample here, that you're going to need to select what you want to share and where you want to share it. So the where you want to share it, if you have multiple screens, like right now I have my laptop screen, and then I do have a second screen. I'm sharing now on my first screen, so that's why that little 1 is showing. If you only have one screen or one option, that's a moot point. But just to point out there, that's the situation. Now here, I am choosing, as you can see, to share what was on my desktop, which was this PowerPoint presentation that you guys are seeing right now. Okay, so my tip and my trick to you is that whatever you want to be sharing, whether it's a creative document, David and I just shared some really exciting creative work with one of our clients this morning, for LevLane. So I had pulled up the creative that I wanted to share. I clicked down on my share screen. I selected my desktop, and then literally everybody that was on that call could see that creative that we were sharing, which was so powerful. And I mentioned that specifically because whether it was creative or whether it was a document, to be able to share something in this virtual digital space is so powerful. You know, it's really hard for all of us, right? That we're in our homes and we're not supposed to be going out and we're social distancing and all of that stuff. But to have a tool to be able to share and communicate and be able to continue to perform business in particular is something that I really strongly want you guys to feel comfortable with and embrace, because it's going to be time for you to pivot to either grow and adapt, or potentially not necessarily be able to share whatever your passion is. So, hi Ben.
Christine, hi. We have about 10 minutes, so I wanted to, but also I was just playing with your screen.
Yes, thank you.
To let people know that part of sharing is you can annotate or draw if you want to play with the kids or something, but it's not the same as a screen share that your computer IT department might do to fix your computer. It's not quite there.
Yes.
It is something to look at.
That's a great point. And like our IT people come on, like they can remote in and do things to our computer. It's not that kind of sharing. They're sharing you as the person, you have that control on what you're sharing and how you're sharing it. So, all right. So when it comes time to leave a meeting, it sounds simple, especially if you're the host. But I'll tell you guys a little secret. Don't tell David Lane if you're listening, put earmuffs on, please. But in an internal meeting, I'm happy to say I wasn't with clients on the call, but I had about 6 of our team members on a call a couple weeks ago, and we were newly working remotely. And I ended a meeting for everybody because I was the host. I had a little trigger finger happy. So rather than me just leaving the meeting, I ended the meeting for all. And because I'm the one that planned the meeting, it literally shut down everybody. So I say this to you all, it kind of sounds silly, but I really felt bad. So then I'm like messaging everybody, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your time, that type of thing. So I just wanted to point that out. And then today, I'm going to use today as another example. I know Ben is going to allow a couple of extra minutes after we're done doing Q&A for you guys to do some networking and chatting. So if I was the one that had set up this meeting, even if I was going to be exiting, I would hit, I'm going to leave the meeting, but I'm not hitting it, ended it for all, because other folks might want to continue to have that dialogue, and I want to allow that space to be available digitally. Okay. All right. So help options. Zoom is super powerful in reference to their help facility or help options. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a help tool that's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. In the lower right-hand corner, there's a little blue bubble that pops up with an automated chat of sorts where you can literally be asking your questions. So just know that there's no bad questions as you do roll your sleeves up and get a little bit more familiar and comfortable. There's little idiosyncrasies. A lot of what I was talking about today was mostly for your laptop or for your tablet. If you are using your mobile device, which a lot of people do, there are some idiosyncrasies and things that are different from that. So this is an area that if you have questions in the future, you can definitely type in and navigate as an option. So that was a lot. You guys all hung in with me. We did not lose one person, Ben. That is, give me some claps, right? Thank you, guys. So thank you, thank you. We do want to open up the floor. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. This will be available. I so appreciate your time. And let's just talk through some of these questions that you guys have been putting into the chat. Before I do stop my screen share, the last slide here, and I want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. This is going to be digitally as well, but if anybody does need to reach out to Ben and does not have his contact information, you'll have that at your fingertips. If anybody has the need to reach out or needs any marketing or advertising assistance, please reach out to David Lane or myself through the information that'll be on your back end of your slide here. Okay. So let's talk questions. Megan, help me out, girl. What's going on in their chat land?
Okay, people have a question about the background, how you can change it to like the palm trees or whatever.
The way I do it is on your screen.
Yep.
I guess you can't see it mine. You go to where it says stop video, but don't hit stop video.
Correct.
You
It's
hit
the
drop down arrow.
Yes.
And then up will pop video setting or choose virtual background.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can pick a couple of pictures. You can download pictures to use, but you need to have a certain quality camera and graphics card or a real green screen.
So I last night was playing around with this because I was trying to get like palm trees behind me or something fun to share with you guys today and for my team for this morning. And something odd was happening where it was inverting. The palm trees were going inside of me, inside of my silhouette versus the background. So I don't know, I haven't investigated or troubleshot why that was happening. I think it had something to do with my video card, but little things like that in full honesty, I'm not the expert at. But that is how you do it. It's just why it wasn't working is a challenge.
Yeah, if your computer is set up for it, it's as simple as picking one of those pictures.
Yeah.
If not, you might need an update. But for example, I don't have the right graphics card. So when I do it, it becomes this.
Yeah.
So that's the invisible man there.
That's kind of what was happening to me last night. And then the picture was going in just in my silhouette. So what I will do in this particular case, because I don't have a firm answer, I'm going to just make a quick list and then we'll put together some quick next steps. So you guys have things in writing on the things that you're particularly asking for that I might not be very clear on right now. So good question, and we will get you information.
Another question.
A lot of fun.
Another question somebody asked, how can you change the views so that people are up top or on the side or?
Very good question. So in the upper right-hand corner of our screens right now, if you hover over top, there's a little blue, well, it depends on how you're looking at things. I'm seeing that there's a blue arrow in the upper right-hand corner. And then right above that arrow, there's a couple little boxes. One is, it looks like a tic-tac-toe board. There's 9 little squares stacked up on top of one another, and that's called gallery view. So if I would click on that gallery view, it's going to show me, everybody's picture laid out in a gallery fashion. If I would click on the icon to the right of that, it goes back to full screen. I don't know, exit full screen. Speaker view is the one that has one person who's speaking at the time, or the host's picture in the large box, and then horizontal across the top, kind of like a movie reel, there's individual people. So you have the option to toggle back and forth. And I invite you guys right now to just play around with that. Just go in the upper right-hand corner if you're on a laptop or your tablet. I think it is a little different on the phone. You would just go into the upper right-hand corner and click either gallery view, which is, again, it looks like multiple little blocks, and the enter full screen or the other options there.
Also, with the gallery view, when there's more than a certain number of people, you have left and right arrows to scroll through the various people.
Thank you, Ben.
And the other thing that was a little tricky during the presentation, when the screen was shared, on my left side, I had the slide deck, and on the right was all of you people. And there is a thin line that goes down the screen, and you won't see it now, where you can drag it to either side, and as you do that, either the faces get bigger or the screen get bigger. So you kind of need to play with that during an actual meeting when your screen changes that way. But it is all adjustable.
Yeah. The other question that I am seeing here, thank you, Barbara, when you share your screen, does the item you want to share have to be open and ready to be seen when you hit share? The answer is no, it does not have to be. However, I strongly encourage and suggest that you do have it open, queued up, ready. Sometimes there's a technological glitch, and I'm all about narrowing that margin down. So I would suggest to have it open. And then also, to build off of that, anything that you don't want to share, I would have minimized and closed down. So to have, 7 other browsers open of other websites that you have things stacked on top of one another, like I am so guilty of. I might have documents in Word, Excel, and Power, like I have so much stuff open. As I know a lot of people do, I suggest, and I did so for today, I made sure I minimize everything, keep it as clean as possible, organized. Not only does that help me personally, but it helps the computer in reference to not necessarily selecting the wrong thing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. That's a great question. I'm sorry we didn't get to all these guys. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure I go through all of this. Megan and I are going to capture it all. I'm going to make sure that in the reply that we send out to folks that we're answering these questions and providing a quick little step-by-step on any of the high-level consistent ones. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions that are coming to mind that you haven't put in the chat yet that you want more information on or a little extra curious on? I hope this time was helpful for everybody.
You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, dive in.
I have a question. It's Susan.
Hi, Susan.
So you can go into a Zoom meeting, and I have been going in, taking classes and different things, without having an account. So if I got an account with the 40-minute limit, is that going to affect when I get invited into one that goes on for 2 hours?
No, not at all. And great question. The main thing by having your own free or paid account, Susan, is if you wanted to drive, be in that driver's seat and setting up any meetings that you were not actually invited to, that's the benefit of having your own account.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can answer a question. Somebody asked about the virtual background that does not have your face, that's just a background. So the people who don't have video, you can see their name. What you would do is go into your settings, and at the top where your personal avatar or icon is, you would change that. So for example, if I stop my video, I just become our logo. Now it has to be a certain size, probably a very small image, but you can change that by having a favorite picture or your logo, or you can go online and find a cute avatar of yourself. There's different websites you can make one and use that to replace your name.
But how do you do that? I mean, where does that live while you're?
That's back in the settings. So here, I'll share my screen real quick, the one with the settings. See the CCPA logo right here?
So that would be once you're in your actual account.
Yeah. And so that would be your settings where you go to edit your profile, kind of like any social media profile, and you upload a logo or a picture there.
I don't see that, but.
But you have to be, are you logged into Zoom?
Yeah, I had to get rid of the video panel so I could see it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So up here is our logo, and that would be our settings. And then you would just, well, I guess over here is the profile.
Yeah, Ben, if you click on the profile there, right there, you can add it.
And then here you can change your picture.
Yep. I actually work with somebody who likes to change their profile picture every Monday morning. It's part of their routine. I think they might need some more to do. I think the other nugget here is that, you know, Zoom, much like many tools that are out there, the reason that I do prefer Zoom over some others is that it is very user friendly. I really encourage you guys just to dive in. You're not going to blow up anything. You're not going to delete anything. Have fun, practice. You're going to learn by doing. And everybody's in the same boat right now. We're all kind of muddling through, and hang up on somebody, you'll call them back.